The night was meant to be magical. In the midst of the bustling engagement party, held in a grand banquet hall, every detail shimmered with promise. Crystal chandeliers, soft jazz murmuring in the background, and the clinking of champagne glasses echoing like a prelude to forever. Vanessa, radiant in her elegant gown that accentuated her graceful yet strong presence, stood next to Malik. His dark brown eyes shone with reassurance as he whispered promises of a future together. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. Just as the clock neared the hour of the toast, the atmosphere shifted. Vanessa raised her glass, her smile trembling with anticipation, when Malik suddenly pivoted. His eyes, usually so warm, hardened into an unreadable storm. Without warning, in front of every astonished guest, Malik dropped to one knee, his hands trembling slightly as he reached for a ring. But instead of Vanessa's name, his voice pierced the silence with another name. Lana. For a heartbeat, time halted. The lively chatter in the room turned to stunned silence. Vanessa's mind raced, a cascade of questions, shock, and deep betrayal. Malik's proposal, meant to symbolize commitment, was now an act of public treachery. The guests exchanged uneasy glances, caught between the shock of witnessing a betrayal and the disbelief that this could be real. As Malik's words echoed in the room, the stakes were instantly raised. The emotional undercurrent of the evening turned dangerous, the line between love and deceit blurring in a single, fateful moment. Vanessa's internal world shattered as she felt the weight of every unspoken promise dissolve. Her heart pounded fiercely as emotions of fear, anger, and sorrow battled within her. In that charged instant, the future, once bright with hope, transformed into an uncertain labyrinth of pain and betrayal. As the guests looked on in disbelief, Vanessa's eyes filled with tears, and the question hung in the air: how could the man she trusted betray her in such a public, devastating way? Barely an hour had passed since the proposal, and Vanessa's world was already in ruins. Stumbling out of the opulent hall into the cool night air, every step felt like an act of defiance against a future that had abruptly turned to dust. The city around her seemed indifferent, a sea of neon lights and the distant hum of traffic, while her inner turmoil roared like a tempest. In the solitude of the parking lot, Vanessa's thoughts churned. Every smile at the party, every promise whispered in confidence, now felt like a cruel joke. The taste of betrayal was bitter on her tongue as she replayed the moment over and over. Malik's eyes, those deep-set, dark brown eyes that once promised warmth and security, now held a cold, calculated gleam. And Lana, the woman who had unwittingly become the target of a life-altering mistake, stood as a painful reminder of the day's heartbreak. Haunted by a cocktail of anger and despair, Vanessa felt both paralyzed and determined. The cold night air mixed with the heat of her tears as she vowed silently that she would not fade into quiet resignation. Though every fiber of her being screamed to run, a flicker of resolve took root. Her mind, still reeling, began to sketch a plan of reclamation. The betrayal was not the end. It was the spark that would ignite a fierce pursuit of truth and dignity. Every sound in the dark was amplified. The distant echo of a car door closing, footsteps that matched her rapid pace, and the haunting call of Malik's voice behind her. "Vanessa!" he shouted, his tone desperate and pleading. But her eyes remained fixed ahead. In that moment, the only thing that mattered was the hurt slowly transmuting into resolve. As she rounded a corner, she knew that the night was far from over. With every step away from the site of the betrayal, she also moved further from a past that was no longer hers. Each stride carried the weight of shattered dreams, but also the seed of a future where she would rise, stronger than ever. Yet amidst the quiet determination, uncertainty gnawed at her. Was this the beginning of a painful road to healing, or the start of something even darker? Just as Vanessa felt the first glimmer of resolve, a single voice called her name from behind, a voice laden with regret and urgency that threatened to pull her back into the chaos she desperately sought to escape. The next morning, with the dawn struggling to break through the veil of her despair, Vanessa reluctantly agreed to a meeting with Malik at a quiet coffee shop. The establishment, with its gentle murmur of conversation and the rich aroma of roasted beans, offered no solace. Instead, every quiet moment heightened the tension that had been set in motion the night before. When Malik stepped inside, his eyes fell on Vanessa, a stark mixture of remorse and an unsettling calm. He slid into the seat opposite her, the weight of his actions evident in every hesitant gesture. "Vanessa," he began, his voice low and tremulous, "I never meant for things to go this way." His words, intended as an olive branch, fell flat against the wall of betrayal. Vanessa's gaze was fierce, her mind a battlefield of swirling emotions. "Then tell me," she whispered, voice cracking with controlled anger. "Why? How could you, us, ever have a future when every promise was built on lies?" Malik's silence was deafening, punctuating her accusation with the truth of his failure. As the conversation deepened, Malik admitted that his feelings for Lana had grown unexpectedly over time. Yet, even as he spoke, Vanessa could see that the hurt was mutual. Malik's confession was a messy tapestry of selfish desire and misguided love, but it did nothing to mend the gaping wound in her heart. His explanations were riddled with contradictions that only fueled Vanessa's rising fury. Between sips of bitter coffee and tentative pauses, the dialogue became a standoff, a meeting where every word was measured and every silence screamed louder than any confession. Vanessa's inner monologue, rich in introspection, wrestled with the painful reality that the man she loved was not the man she thought he was. Every detail of his words was dissected and weighed against the raw memory of that fateful proposal. As Malik faltered, his eyes welling with regret, Vanessa pressed on with a single piercing question. "What about me? What about everything we planned?" The query hung in the air like an accusation too heavy to dismiss. Malik's face contorted, torn between the need to offer solace and the inability to undo the damage. In that quiet, charged space, the seeds of irrevocable change were sown. The coffee shop, once a haven of routine comfort, now served as a stage for the unraveling of a once beautiful love story, each word another thread severed from the tapestry of trust. Before Malik could muster a response, the door swung open abruptly. A shadowy figure appeared in the doorway, a person whose presence hinted at secrets yet to be revealed, and a future more tangled than either of them could imagine. The quiet confrontation at the coffee shop had left Vanessa reeling, but nothing could have prepared her for the revelation that came next. Malik's eyes, heavy with regret, darted nervously as he leaned forward, lowering his voice. "There's something else you need to know," he said. "It's time you heard the truth." Vanessa's heart pounded like a relentless drumbeat as Malik continued. "Lana, she's pregnant." The words hung in the air, a bombshell that shattered the fragile remnants of hope. In that instant, Vanessa's mind whirled with disbelief, each syllable of Malik's confession hammering home the depth of his betrayal. For years, she had envisioned a future built on shared dreams, a home filled with laughter, trust, and mutual respect. Now, the very foundation of those dreams was splintering before her eyes. Malik's revelation was not just about infidelity, it was a declaration that everything they had built was based on lies. The baby, a silent witness to his deception, transformed their once bright future into an abyss of uncertainty. The coffee shop's low hum faded into an overwhelming silence. Vanessa's thoughts raced, memories of laughter, whispered promises in the dark, and the quiet strength that had once bound them together all clashed violently with the stark reality before her. Malik's confession was a cruel twist of fate, one that raised the stakes and twisted the narrative of their love into something unrecognizable and dangerous. The revelation of the unborn child, an unintended consequence of Malik's indiscretions, shifted the narrative irrevocably. It was not just a betrayal of trust, but a betrayal of a future they had both dreamed of. Every second stretched, each pause laden with the weight of impending decisions. Vanessa felt as if the ground beneath her was crumbling, yet within that collapse, a spark of fierce resolve ignited. She realized that her life would no longer be defined by Malik's choices or the chaos of a shattered engagement. Rising abruptly from the table, Vanessa's eyes glistened with unshed tears and a resolute fire. "I need time to think," she declared, leaving Malik in a silence filled with regret, and a door left ajar to a future that promised even darker twists. In the quiet aftermath of the revelation, Vanessa retreated to her sanctuary, a small, modest apartment that had always been a refuge from the storms of life. The early hours of the morning found her hunched over a desk, meticulously piecing together the fragments of a shattered love. Every message on Malik's phone, every photograph, and every whispered conversation formed a tapestry of betrayal that was as intricate as it was damning. As she scrolled through evidence on her computer screen, Vanessa's mind raced. With each new discovery, the scope of Malik's deception expanded before her eyes. It wasn't just the proposal or the secret baby. There were multiple betrayals, each one another cruel stab at the heart of their relationship. Malik had maintained clandestine liaisons with not one but several women, each unaware that they were mere pawns in his twisted game of seduction and lies. Her heart ached with the realization that the man she had trusted so completely was not only unfaithful, but had built an entire web of deceit that spanned years. Each text message confirmed what she had long feared. Malik's love had been as transient as a shadow at dusk, but amid the sorrow, Vanessa discovered something unexpected, a spark of empowerment. The more she uncovered, the more she felt a stirring of determination. She would not let Malik's lies define her future. Her fingers trembled as she organized the evidence into folders labeled Betrayal, Lies, and Proof. Every piece of data was a silent promise that justice, or at least personal vindication, was within reach. The betrayal had reached far beyond a broken engagement. It was an intricate, deliberate plan to hurt her deeply. Yet, in the quiet of that night, Vanessa made a silent vow. She would expose every lie and reclaim the dignity that had been so ruthlessly stripped away. In her solitude, Vanessa's thoughts swirled with memories of laughter and shared dreams, a bittersweet reminder of what had once been. But they were now marred by the unmistakable evidence of Malik's duplicity. Each text, each photograph, was a testament to the life they had built on false promises, and as she sorted through the painful reminders, she resolved that the truth must come to light. Just as she prepared to send the first batch of evidence to a trusted friend, her phone buzzed with an incoming message, a cryptic warning that suggested someone else was watching her every move. The realization sent a chill down her spine. The betrayal wasn't just personal, it had dangerous ramifications. In the days that followed the uncovering of Malik's treachery, Vanessa found herself at a crossroads. The pain was profound, but so too was a growing determination to fight back. No longer willing to remain a victim of a man who had woven deceit into every facet of their relationship, she resolved to take control of her destiny. The decision was not made lightly. Vanessa reached out to a trusted friend, who in turn connected her with a well-respected lawyer, known for his integrity and fierce dedication to justice. In the polished, modern interior of the law office, Vanessa sat across from him, surrounded by the tangible symbols of a new beginning, legal files, documents, and an air of unyielding resolve. Her lawyer, a man with a commanding presence and a reputation for turning the tide in even the bleakest cases, listened intently as she recounted every detail: the public proposal, the shocking secret of Lana's pregnancy, and the mountain of evidence implicating Malik in a web of infidelity. His eyes narrowed with understanding and determination as he absorbed the gravity of the situation. "You have every right to demand the truth and protect your future," he assured her. "Let's prepare to take this to the light." In that moment, Vanessa felt a transformation within herself. The once heartbroken woman now stood on the brink of reclaiming her identity, her dignity, and her power. Every document, every painful memory was being repurposed as ammunition in a battle for justice. The legal process, daunting as it might seem, promised a measure of retribution and closure, a chance to redefine her future on her own terms. But the decision to fight back came with its own set of risks. Malik's allies, and perhaps even unexpected adversaries lurking in the shadows, might try to silence the truth. Vanessa knew that by stepping into the arena of public and legal scrutiny, she was inviting further conflict. Yet the alternative, allowing the deception to continue unchallenged, was no longer acceptable. As she left the law office with a folder full of legal strategies and the first of many evidence files in hand, Vanessa's phone vibrated again. A single message read, "Drop it, or else." The threat was clear, and the battle was now officially underway. Vanessa's resolve to fight back reached its apex as she prepared to step into the public arena. With Malik's duplicity exposed to a small circle of trusted allies and legal counsel, the next step was to confront the man in the very domain where he wielded his power, his company's high-profile event. On a crisp evening, under the bright lights of a sleek corporate conference hall, Vanessa arrived. Every detail was meticulously planned, from her attire that blended elegance with assertiveness to the secure folder of evidence that would soon be unleashed. The room buzzed with anticipation as Malik took his seat among influential figures, his aura of authority now tinged with anxiety. When Vanessa stepped onto the stage, the room fell silent. With the poise of someone reclaiming her life, she seized the microphone. "Good evening," she began, her voice steady but filled with quiet fury. "I stand before you not as a victim, but as a seeker of truth." One by one, she recounted the harrowing events of that fateful night, the shocking proposal, the revelations of betrayal, and the painful evidence that confirmed Malik's indiscretions. Every word was delivered with precision, each sentence a carefully constructed blow aimed at dismantling the carefully maintained facade. The audience's expressions shifted from curiosity to disbelief and then to outrage as Vanessa revealed the extent of Malik's deception. The evidence was undeniable. Text messages, photos, and legal documents painted a portrait of a man who had betrayed not only Vanessa, but the trust of everyone who believed in him. As the final piece of evidence was projected behind her, the room erupted into a cacophony of gasps and murmurs. Malik's face drained of color as he realized that his empire of lies was collapsing in real time. The public reveal was not just a personal vendetta, it was a statement that truth, no matter how deeply buried, would always find its way to the light. Just as the event reached its climax, a well-dressed man from Malik's inner circle stepped forward with a proposal of compromise, a deal that promised to salvage what remained of Malik's reputation. Vanessa's eyes narrowed as she wondered, would this be the end of Malik's reign, or just the beginning of an even darker game? In the wake of Vanessa's public revelation, the dominoes began to fall rapidly for Malik. The corporate world, once charmed by his confident facade, now recoiled from the evidence of his duplicity. Offices that had once buzzed with his authority were now filled with hushed discussions and urgent phone calls. Malik's name, once synonymous with success, became a byword for betrayal. Within days, legal authorities and corporate investigators descended upon Malik's company. Documents were subpoenaed, board members questioned, and media outlets raced to broadcast every scandalous detail of his personal and professional life. The power that Malik had wielded so effortlessly now turned against him, exposing the chinks in his armor with brutal efficiency. Vanessa, watching from the sidelines, felt a complex mix of emotions. Part of her savored the long-awaited retribution, yet another part was burdened by the cost of revenge. She had set out to reclaim her dignity, but the public downfall of the man who once promised her a future brought forth reflections on the nature of justice and forgiveness. Her inner monologue was a tapestry of triumph, sorrow, and even uncertainty. Had she become what she despised in the process of holding him accountable? As Malik's personal and professional lives crumbled, his attempts to negotiate a deal with influential figures became increasingly desperate. The deal, proposed in a last-ditch effort to salvage his reputation, was met with skepticism and outright hostility. In boardrooms filled with anger and betrayal, Malik's pleas for redemption fell on deaf ears. Every whispered conversation and every flashing legal notice was a stark reminder that trust, once broken, was nearly impossible to restore. The media frenzy added fuel to the fire. Headlines screamed of corporate malfeasance and moral bankruptcy. Every news segment, every interview, was a public trial in which Malik's sins were laid bare for all to see. Yet amidst the chaos, Vanessa struggled with her own identity. Was her pursuit of justice a necessary act of self-preservation, or was it turning her heart as cold as the betrayal she had endured? Late one night, as Malik's personal phone rang incessantly with calls from legal teams and former allies, a final message arrived for Vanessa, a mysterious note implying that Malik had one final secret, one that could upend everything she thought she knew. The message read only, "The truth is not yet done." With the stakes higher than ever, Vanessa knew that the final confrontation with Malik was inevitable. The mysterious note had stirred fresh waves of uncertainty and threatened to unravel the fragile victory she had fought so hard to achieve. Arranging a private meeting at an upscale restaurant, Vanessa braced herself for a showdown that would determine not only the future of Malik's crumbling empire, but also the final chapter of her personal journey. In the hushed intimacy of the restaurant's private dining area, the tension was palpable. Malik, now a shadow of the man he once was, sat facing Vanessa with an expression that mixed regret, desperation, and a hint of defiance. His gaunt face and downcast eyes told the story of a man haunted by the consequences of his own choices. "I'm sorry, Vanessa," Malik began, voice quivering as if each word carried the weight of his sins. "Please, tell me what I can do to fix this. I'm willing to do anything." His plea was a fragile lifeline thrown in a sea of regret, but Vanessa's heart, though still aching, was no longer soft with pity. "I want you to understand," she replied, her tone measured yet steely, "that you betrayed every promise, every dream we once shared." Her words, though delivered calmly, cut through the silence like a knife. Vanessa's internal dialogue, raged with memories of hurt, yet she held on to a newfound strength. The restaurant's ambient lighting and the muted clatter of dishes underscored the gravity of the moment. As the conversation unfolded, Malik made desperate offers: a deal to sever ties with his corrupt business network, promises to publicly apologize, and even pleas for forgiveness. But each offer, no matter how fervently delivered, seemed inadequate in the face of the irreversible damage he had inflicted. Vanessa's eyes, once filled with love, now held the steely glint of a survivor determined to reclaim her future. In the midst of this final confrontation, Vanessa raised the stakes one last time. "If you truly want redemption," she said, her voice unwavering, "you must leave behind everything that ties you to these lies. That means Lana, the company, and every piece of deceit." The challenge hung in the air, heavy with the possibility of a complete transformation or a final collapse. Before Malik could answer, a sudden interruption. The restaurant door burst open and a mysterious figure entered, a person whose presence hinted at deeper, unresolved secrets, and the possibility that Malik's final secret, hinted at in the note, might soon be revealed. The mysterious interruption in the restaurant had left both Vanessa and Malik on edge. In the aftermath of their final showdown, the enigmatic figure remained a puzzle, its motives unclear, its connection to Malik's hidden secret yet to be fully unraveled. But for Vanessa, this confrontation marked a turning point. The pain of betrayal had been excruciating, yet it had also kindled an inner strength that she had never known before. In the weeks that followed, Malik's world continued to crumble. The legal battles, public scrutiny, and internal betrayals forced him into retreat. Meanwhile, Vanessa began rebuilding her life from the ruins of what once was, a life defined by her resilience and the promise of a future she would forge on her own terms. With every passing day, she transformed her sorrow into strength, her anger into purpose. She found solace in creative pursuits and in the support of those who had rallied around her after the public revelation. Friends and family, each with their own scars from the ordeal, became the pillars on which she rebuilt her identity. The journey was neither smooth nor immediate, but with every step, Vanessa reclaimed a part of herself that had been lost in the shadow of betrayal. One crisp morning, as the first light of dawn painted the city in soft hues, Vanessa stood on her apartment balcony. The view of the sprawling skyline was a reminder that life was vast and full of endless possibilities. With her phone in hand, she noticed an incoming message from an unknown number. Her heart skipped a beat as she read the brief text. "You think you've won, but this isn't over. There's more to the story." The message was a final, tantalizing twist, a reminder that while one chapter had closed, the narrative of her life was still being written. For Vanessa, the true victory was not in exacting revenge or exposing every lie, but in reclaiming her own story, her own destiny. She resolved to meet whatever challenge lay ahead with courage and wisdom. As the city awoke beneath the pastel sky, Vanessa smiled, a small, determined smile that spoke of hope and an unyielding spirit. The final message remained unanswered, hinting at secrets yet to be unearthed and a future that, despite its uncertainties, belonged entirely to her.